Come closer. Let me tell you a story that'll make you feel better. The nuts are quite ripe now, said Chanticleer to Partlet, his wife. Let's go together up to the mountains and eat as many as we can before the squirrel takes them all away. I'm in, said Partlet. Let's go and make a holiday of it together. So they went to the mountains, and it was a lovely day, and they stayed there until evening. Now, I can't say whether it was because they'd eaten so many nuts that they couldn't walk, or whether they were just bone idle and wouldn't, I'm not sure. However, they took it into their heads that there was no way that they were walking. So Chanticleer began to build a little carriage of nutshells, with a seat for a passenger, another for a driver, and traces for a beast of burden, and when it was finished, Partlet jumped into it and sat down, and told Chanticleer to harness himself to it and pull her home. You're having a laugh, said Chanticleer. No chance. I'd rather walk home. I'll sit on the box and be coachman if you like, but I'll not pull, so you can get that out of your head. While this was going on, a duck came quacking up in a foul mood and shouted, You thieving vagabonds! What business have you on my land? I'll have you for your insolence. And upon that she went for Chanticleer most lustily, first with a body slam and then more with the beak. But Chanticleer was no coward, and returned the duck's blows with his sharp spurs with a ferocity that was more than the duck had bargained for, and she soon began to cry out for mercy, which was only granted on condition that she would pull the carriage home for them. This she agreed to do, allowed herself to be put in harness, and Chanticleer got up on the box and drove, crying, Now then, duck, giddy up and as fast as you can. And away they went, at a pretty good pace. After they'd travelled along a bit of a way, they met a needle and a pin walking together along the road, and the needle cried out, Whoa, stop! And his tale was that it was so dark that they could hardly find their way, and it was such muddy walking that they couldn't make any progress. He told them that he and his friend, the pin, had been at a pub a few miles off and had sat drinking till they'd forgotten how late it was. He begged, therefore, that the travellers would be so kind as to give them a lift in their carriage. Chanticleer, observing that they were just thin chaps and not likely to take up much room, told them that they could ride, but made them promise not to dirty the wheels of the carriage getting in and don't tread on Partlet's toes. Later that night, they arrived at an inn, and as it was bad travelling in the dark, and the duck seemed shattered and staggered about a good deal from one side to the other, they made up their minds to spend the night there. But the thick-set publican was at first unwilling, and said his house was full, thinking they might not be very respectable company. However, they were civil to him, and gave him the egg which Partlet had laid on the way, and said that they would give him the duck, who was in the habit of laying one every day. So at last, faced with a proposition too tempting to refuse, he let them come in, and they ordered a handsome supper and spent the evening in riotous carousing. Early in the morning, before it was quite light, and when nobody was stirring in the inn, Chanticleer awakened his wife, and, fetching the egg, they pecked a hole in it, ate it up, and threw the shells into the fireplace. Then they went to the pin and needle, who were fast asleep, and grabbing them by the heads, stuck one into the publican's easy chair, and the other into his face cloth, and, having done this, they crept away as softly as possible. However, the duck, who slept in the open air in the yard and understood very well the value of keeping your wits about you, heard them coming, and he jumped into the brook that ran close by the inn and soon swam out of their reach. An hour or two afterwards, the publican got up and took his face cloth to wipe his face, but the pin scratched him from one ear to the other and put him in a poor humour. And then, to calm down, he walked into the kitchen to light his pipe at the fire, but when he stirred it, up the eggshells crackled and spat and flew into his eyes and almost blinded him. "Blood and stomach pills," said he. "All the world seems to have a design against my head this morning." And so saying, he threw himself sulkily into his easy chair. But, ouch! The needle ran right through the seat of his trousers on the way to pricking him grievously, and this time the pain was about 2 feet south of his head. He now flew into a towering rage, and, suspecting the company who had come in the night before, he went to look for them. But they were all off. Chanticleer and Partlet were in the wind, with his fine dinner in their bellies, the unpaid rent in their pockets, and his breakfast congealing round their beaks, so he swore that he never again would take in such a group of vagabonds, such riffraff, who ate a great deal, paid no reckoning, and gave him nothing for his trouble but their apish tricks.